Okay. Hi, everybody. We are here at our Women's Empowerment Circle with Healing Sacred Feminine. And we initially were going to record this, but then I thought maybe people might feel more open to share because sexuality can be just kind of such a loaded topic for all of us. So I wasn't going to record it, but now that it's Jacki and I, just the two of us, we are both comfortable sharing about this more publicly. So we decided we're going to go ahead. We've been having such a rich conversation already, so you're joining us a little ways into it, but we're deciding to go ahead and record it so we can share this with you because good stuff, rich stuff is coming up. So so thank you for being here and watching. And we were just talking about having sex when we don't really feel like it, when our bodies aren't into it, and how we can go into judgment and feel obligated to share ourselves even when we're not wanting to. You know, if we're sharing affection with somebody at all, then it needs to kind of go all the way somehow. You know, we've kind of gotten that belief system in our head somehow. Somewhere along the lines, we felt we got this weird fucked up belief that if we have any sort of affection at all, any sort of intimacy, that means it has to go all the way to going all the way, which it doesn't, you know. And that's a weird thing that we've taken on, our partners have taken on. We've all grown up in this system. And you know what, I just flashed on, and I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to stop after this, but I see this all the time in movies. And next time you see a sex scene in a movie, you're now that we're having this conversation, you're gonna see it. Two people meet, they're at a bar, they're at anywhere, they're kind of attracted to each other, and then for whatever reason they end up wherever they're going to be, back at somebody's house, and just bam, they're making out and they're having sex within a second, and then that sex is over within a second too. It's just like, this happens so much in movies. So it's been normalized for us. And we think that's what it's supposed to be like. If you're attracted to somebody in the slightest, that means you go back to their place and have sex and it's over really quick. And I don't think the woman ever gets any pleasure. It actually looks like she does, but it's pretend, it's not real. So I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jacki? You see?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's frustrating. In fact, you just mentioning that brings me to a little topic that my little community was talking about yesterday, about how, we tend to like tiptoe around the word, vagina, or, genitals, or, packing, like any of those associations to sexual things. And we kind of, tiptoe around, you got to be hush hush. And one of my community members was like, no, like normalize this. It's time to change the way that we approach this conversation. It's so powerful to say, wait, no, we don't need to tiptoe around this. This isn't taboo. This isn't something to be shushed. Like, this is normal. This is empowering. Like, talking about sexuality and those sexual organs. Like, you mentioned that we're in this Venus energy, and it's all about relationships, right? What's your relationship with your sexual body? What's your relationship with your sexual energy? Which I guess is what we're tapping on just before we decided to record this. Yeah, I can feel something. There's something brewing up there. So I'm curious about, what direction we go in.
Awesome. Vagina, vagina, vagina. Let's start saying it. I love
Mm.
that. That is really interesting, because one of the other things that I was going to talk about, I've been like encountering all these different things that I want to bring into our circle today. And as I was reading that book, it was talking about, or one of these books, and for those of you who are just joining us, or well, you're just joining us, we've been here talking for a little bit, but I shared about all of these exciting books that I got at the adult sex boutique yesterday or the day before, and for research to support me in my own process, but to support us in this process. And one of these books here, it's called All the Fucking Mistakes. Stop apologizing for your sexuality and take charge of your life. It's so freaking good. I love this woman so far. A guide to sex, love, and life. And she's just like, she's not messing around. This is not like a woo-woo fluffy. She's like right in your face. I highly recommend this book. Oh my gosh, it's so good. But I was just reading it before she was talking about, oh, I highlighted it. this infamous video, she says, oh, where did it go? Okay. Pussy over pain. And she said, infamous viral internet video. So of course I got online and I'm like, what is this pussy over pain? And wouldn't you know, you can't find this video online anymore. But in doing some research, I did find an article about it, and it's all about how violence, murder, death, all completely okay, but you put a nipple, a woman's nipple will shut down your account, shut down everything. But you can have violence and gore and war and stuff all over the place, and that's completely acceptable. But a naked body, a nipple, you can't do it. Even in the porn shop I was at yesterday, all of the women, and this is so freaking weird to me, all the women on like advertising lingerie or anything, sex toys, all the pictures, their nipples were either like strategically covered with their hair, like this, or they would have little pasties on them, or they would be, something like this, like nipples.
Men show them all the time.
What the fuck is wrong with nipples? What is that? Is that weird? The rest of her body was showing, well, except of course her vulva. We can't see that either. But nipples. I mean, I was just like, even in the porn shop, like we're selling lingerie and porn gear, but don't show those nipples. It's like it is weird, and that's what we're doing here.
Don't cover their nipples, right? Yeah. You go back to the indigenous connected people, right? They're the most connected to the land, I feel. And they may have a loincloth, but the women, they don't cover their breasts.
Yeah. And
like you don't see that anywhere with the cultural women, basically.
It's weird. It's a nipple. I don't know. But yet we can see war and dead bodies and violence and gruesome stuff. You can look up killing videos online. You can see that kind of stuff, like weird. It's just, so her video is all about that, and it's so interesting that you cannot find that video online. You can't find that video online because she does the video naked. She's nude in this. So I don't know how much of her nudity was shown, or if she, strategically, only showed like certain parts of herself, but that says so much right there. That's why we're here, because that stuff's still going on, like that, like shunning and shaming of the body. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, now I'm going to read something else that I was really inspired by. Again, like I said, all these things keep showing up that I want to start talking about once I've like got my mind on this sexuality thing. Like, okay, I put it in my saved collections. Here we go. No, I have to view it. Shoot. Okay, so let's see what we think about this. I hadn't really ever thought about it. So okay, so I'm going to read this. This is a post by Sensual Somatic and Erotic Soma on Instagram. Idealizing phallocentric penetration as the holy grail of sexual satisfaction and glorifying orgasms as the sole measure of successful sex is getting in the way of our pleasure liberation. One of the most revolutionary moments on my sexual healing journey was when I realized how displeasing sex was when intimacy focused solely on the man's erection and the exertion of what he could do with that erection. And this is kind of tying into what we were just talking about too, or having affection and intimacy in that way that has to lead to that penetration, and this is that phallocentric penetration is she's talking about sexual satisfaction, but I'm going to say intimacy satisfaction. It doesn't have to, sex can be all different things. We can just, sex can be, it doesn't have to be penis and vagina, penis entering vagina. There can be a lot of different ways to experience intimacy. And she's in no way blaming men for why this has been her experience. The pressures of phallocentric sex are so deeply imprinted into our collective subconscious from advertising, media, porn, TV, movies, etc. If both me and my partners at the time had the proper education and understanding of how to engage in intimacy differently back then, we would have. So no one is to blame here. Some partners along the way titillated me with their good-hearted intentions of making my orgasms a priority over their own, bless their souls, yet chasing after my climax because of their need to give me an orgasm often turned into a to-do list checkbox I'd frustratingly attempted to check off just so those partners felt good about their performance. Hello, fake orgasms. I'm not proud of it, but we've all been there, let's be honest. Jesus, even now, just reflecting on how my orgasms used to be another checkpoint to surmount, as if my pussy was a summit to conquer, makes her cringe. It's been such an intense journey of unraveling the layers of programming that misled me into believing that my pleasure depended on performance.
It's interesting talking about this. Like I can feel something brewing up. Like I can feel something. It's almost like it's in my chest. But it's like, for me, when it comes to like emotions, I don't quite understand or can identify emotions. So it's like, I feel an emotion. I don't know why it's coming up or what it's attached to, but I can feel something coming up about this. So that's interesting to see. Because I've always had like a sense of frustration towards sexual energy because like I mentioned before, like I never had a sex drive. Everyone's like, you know, I went through being a teenager, early, 20s, being like, what's a sex drive? What's wrong with me? Everyone else has a sex drive. What am I missing out on? And I know there's a lot of wounding to that. And a lot of it's also associated to that shame, that guilt, like the tiptoeing around, which kind of also goes to, how the sexual body, the naked body is just so covered up and so behind the closet nowadays. Like I grew up with a family that just didn't understand, they were in that programming as well. So, when I was drawn to explore sexual energies, there was always a guilt behind it. Like I had the urge to, what's the word for it? Like I could feel myself kind of having like this, like not so much as a sex drive, but like the need to, have a sexual release. And afterwards, I'd feel so shamed, so guilty about it. It was so like it's interesting how it just washed over my body straight afterwards. Like I couldn't even enjoy the pleasures, enjoy my body. And I think that was what programmed me into my teen years and into my early 20s, because that shame was still embedded with exploring sexual energies. I didn't have that hyper sex drive to kind of help me feel into the pleasure. To me, it's just like, I have to do this. This is just, like it ended up becoming like a chore, but a chore that was associated with guilt and shame. And I can probably feel that's what a lot is kind of building up. Like I've done a lot of healing, but there's still the remnants there. And I'm glad this Venus is kind of bringing it up to look at. And I'm really grateful to you, Sadie, for creating this space to talk about this. Like, this is why I was so excited. I can feel your excitement about holding these circles because this is so important, just creating that space for us to talk about this, bring it to the surface. It's not hiding in the closet anymore. So thank you for holding this space.
Yeah, something that really much of what you were saying touched me, but in the beginning you were saying something you said about not having a lot of sex drive when you were younger, and then you went to there must be a lot of wounding around that. Maybe not.
Yeah.
That's what we assume, because if we don't have this crazy sex drive, something must be wrong with me. There must be wound or trauma behind that. Otherwise, and that's how we've like normalized this crazy libido, like we're supposed to want to have sex all the time. And if we don't, there's something wrong. There must be a trauma. There must be a wound. No, maybe not. For me personally, I never masturbated when I was younger. I didn't have my first orgasm until I was probably maybe 18, and I'd been having sex quite a few years at that point, without ever having an orgasm. But I never masturbated. I never had any desire to. I had a desire to connect with people and to share energy with them. And like you said, there was that affection piece that I really enjoyed the masculine energy and I wanted to connect with others, but I didn't know how to have limits on that. And I thought, something else, one of these books I was also reading is like one of our we equate sex with love. We think that that's what we need to do to get love and to get attention from people. So we end up having sex thinking that that's going to get us the love and attention we want. So, but my point was, I had a drive to connect with people intimately, but it was really like my first, what I consider my most sexual experience. I was like 15 and I was in a drama class, and I don't know why, but I guess we had extra time. We were in the back and I was sitting on a bench, and there was this boy who I thought was very cute. He was laying down, his head was on my lap, and I was just running my fingers through his hair in just like the most, I remember just how magical and glorious that felt, and just the most, in the softest way, and just gentle, like it was like heaven, but it was just that connection. And but yeah, it was and then I remember I felt like there was love, there was something going on there. It was such a, for me, it's a divine connection. It's like connecting with God. It's praying. It's a communion with the divine when we get to touch another human being like that, and have that intimacy and that moment. And to me, it was the most sacred and gorgeous thing. I didn't have those words for it, but I know now, that's what it was for me. I was feeling connected to God. And then the next day, that boy didn't want anything to do with me. It was just like nothing. It obviously didn't mean anything to him. And it was kind of like devastating. It was just more devastating now looking back on it, like how sad that was. But yeah, so often ending up feeling like I needed to take it further, like you were saying earlier, like not knowing how to say, I just want to stroke your hair. I just want to feel your body. This doesn't mean I'm going this way with it, but so I guess in that, coming back to that penis centric thing, and what you were just sharing about something being wrong if we don't have that libido or that like sex drive, like that's one of those beliefs that we've picked up, that we've just so fully embodied. And then when we think, I was just writing about this today too, when we feel like there's something wrong, then we shut down even more, and then it's harder to climb back out of that and trying to figure out what's wrong when there's nothing actually wrong. There's nothing wrong.
It's like I can feel myself getting emotional and just wanting to release now. But I think what the trigger for that was, or like the kind of invitation for that was it's like that inner child energy just hearing like, no, like that's okay, what you're doing is okay, right? Like instead of, I guess it's tuning back. I guess this is the connection where growing up, as a child, I was told, no, sexual energies are taboo, they're shameful, there's just this energy of, that guilt and, that's wrong, you're being bad, right? You're being a bad kid when you explore that. And
Yep.
it's like now tuning into this, it's like that inner child being told, no, like it's okay, right? You're exactly who you're meant to be, right? It's that nurturing support and acceptance and release of judgment that I'm feeling is coming through with us talking about this. And yeah, it feels big.
Yeah. There is, as you were talking there, it's just like, yeah, everything when we're younger is about hiding it. And it is shame, don't get caught. Even that,
Yeah.
with the hair, like the touching of the hair and just like that, don't get caught. You'll be in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hitting the nail on the head.
How do we fix that for ourselves? Go back to that inner child and just do some, because that's really ultimately what this circle is about, for one, it's unearthing the stories, you know, and getting them out of the conscious, so we can, if we don't recognize these weird patterns, then of course we can't work with them. They're left there and they're doing their thing. But yeah, how do we, once we know them, how do we change the story around all of this? So and that's, you know, of course going to look different for everybody and everything, but yeah, there's there's a lot of undoing to be done.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to quickly share the experience that I'm having. Like after having this realization, having this release, like sitting in that acceptance, like letting that inner child be held, like I usually feel really disconnected to my yoni space, you know, to that sacral space. And it's almost like now that we've had this release, now that we're talking about it, now that I'm like nurturing that inner child, my yoni's just activated, right? Like I can actually feel her present now. Like, oh, it's just such a cool, you know, confirmation. Like, oh, I just had to
Hey.
share that. It's
That's
not very common
yeah,
for
yeah,
me personally.
yeah. I understand completely. I know we've embodied these things so much that our bodies actually shut down and go numb because it's easier to be in that space than to try to figure it out. Or the other what I was just writing about today as well is the like having discussions around this with our partners, because
Yes.
oftentimes when we get involved with a partner in the beginning, there is more of a sexual spark and we can just be, you know, going at it, and we don't have some of those important conversations. Because I mean, okay, so I know when I connected to my husband, I was just like, wow, I haven't been so sexually activated and so turned on by somebody and just felt so alive with somebody in such a big way. So I really felt like some of those things didn't need to be talked about because they didn't feel like a thing in that experience. Like it was a new experience. So then as things go on and that newness wears off and the passion kind of wanes a bit, fuck, there it is, you know, all the stuff is still there. It didn't go anywhere, you know. And then it's just like I was saying earlier, trying to start having those conversations. And when somebody else can easily be triggered by their own stuff. But what I was writing about was it can be hard to have those conversations because it feels like something's wrong, but we don't even know what's wrong to be able to put it into words to have the conversations, you know? So
Yeah.
trying to explore that when we don't even know what it is ourselves, and then trying to explore it with another person, hoping that they are a safe person to hold space for us and be able to accept all of the layers and what's going on. And it ends up getting easier to just kind of shut down more and more than to have those conversations, and then we pull away. And and then I was talking about just the discomfort of having sex when our bodies aren't into it, you know, and how horrible that is. It's a horrible feeling. And so then we just shut down even more. And it's just like, you know, and some of us do this for our lifetime, you know, and we never open these things up and start exploring them. And I think that's a really big thing for previous generations, especially, you know, our mothers and their mothers. Like they weren't having these conversations, you know, and we've inherited all of that. And that's where that shame comes from, because they just passed on to us what they learned, you know. And this Christian religious society stuff, you know, the oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Ooh. I'm glad you're having some awarenesses, and I feel like having these conversations, and especially if I don't know, there's more you can explore there, you know, with yourself, and just kind of go into that, and that's really exciting. So yay. Yay. I don't want to be talking too much. Is anything more coming up for you?
There's something that used to be a pretty core element to me sharing my relationship with my sexual energy. And it's not as prominent now because I think I've done a lot of work with it. But it was in regards to, like, to me, because I had that limitation of the pleasure I felt with sex. Like, most of the time, I didn't really get like much from sex at all. To like balance the whole burden was kind of the word I used of falling pregnant, right? There's like is the pleasure worth the risk of falling pregnant, or that burden of falling pregnant? So that's probably something that you can kind of delve into. But that was massive for me. Like, I remember freaking the fuck out every time, even though like especially in the past, like I was on contraception, but I would still just had this energy of doubt. Like, if my period was, different by 1 day or 2 days, I'd be freaking the fuck out. And I was like, this stress, this pressure does not equal the pleasure, right? To me, it was like, it's not worth it. And that was a battle as well when I was with a partner, and, a little bit of that obligation energy of, wanting to, give in return, right? Like, he has such a high sex drive. Like, I want to be able to, give thanks, with something that is such a important thing on his journey, even though it doesn't fully relate to me. That was kind of like a bit of a spiral for me.
Absolutely. That's so huge. Thank you for bringing that in because wow, this is yeah, pregnancy is a really freaking big thing. I now have an IUD, and this has been my second, or is it my third one? So I don't even have a period anymore, which is not natural for the body. So I've had to shut down part of my body, my natural rhythm and my natural experience to get around that stress, because I'm going to be having sex, I'm going to be engaging, but yeah, to have that constant stress. Am I going to get pregnant? Is the contraception going to work? What if the condom breaks? What if blah, 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 what if some semen gets in there? Holy shit. It is gnarly. And yes, it absolutely, you're stuck in here in your head. And the whole point of sexual pleasure is to be in your body, not and emotionally connected, not in your head. Wow, because I shut that down quite a long time ago, because that just couldn't be part of my equation because it was super stressful. So sorry, there's somebody's motorcycle or something. I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds loud in here. Okay, good. Okay. They're driving away. But yeah, that's a really important piece to bring in. We either have to shut down part of our natural body's expression, or deal with a lot of stress, or not have sex, which is also its own kind of stress and lack of connection. That's a lot on the female that men do not ever have to worry about, and they will never understand what kind of mental stress that is. They have their own mental stresses, but this one is freaking gnarly. And then if we do get pregnant, then what? We might have to compromise an entire lifetime depending on our beliefs and what we, what feels right for us. We might end up with a child that wasn't planned with somebody that wasn't intended, or we have to go through an abortion, which is never a pleasant experience. Ooh, thanks for bringing that in. That's pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a way of shifting that, which really changed the way that, well, one, that was a big reason that I was not connecting with my, with my yoni energy, right? That was a huge block that was allowing me to just surrender. That was a big thing. I think I was never able to fully surrender and feel held, which is obviously a lot of those feminine things coming in. But my spirituality and my belief in, the universe and its support was, and the fact that, I am overall, I am God, I am the universe, I'm creating this reality. That was a big shift. And the way that I was able to surrender and really start, breaking past that big burden boundary block that I had was, and yeah, I kind of like sharing this, like I relate with some and won't with others. But for me, it was taking control of my reality and being like, hey, like I get to stand in my strength. And obviously a lot of the time when it comes to pregnancies, like there's that fear of, this is bringing another life into, this journey. Like, is it really, it kind of feels like when you incorporate the coming in of a new life, it's kind of out of your control then, right? You feel like the mother energies come into it as well, and it kind of gets really complex, especially emotionally. The way that I was able to handle that is I, set my reality. I put it out to the universe. I was like, hey, like if I ever fall pregnant, I'm saying this to the incoming soul. I'm not ready. I'm not intending to be able to follow through a pregnancy right now, right? This is just, where I am in my experience. So I was able to tell any incoming souls what they were getting into. So then it's the soul's choice that, if they were willing to come in through a pregnancy, through conceiving, they knew where the journey was going to be. Like I was very clear and set with my boundaries to the universe, to myself. And and that felt really empowering, because then I was like, okay, so now I've set my choice. Now, if for some reason this conceiving were to happen, if I were to fall pregnant, the soul that comes in, it's their choice then. Like they know what situation they're coming in. And to me, I believe that the soul that would come in, like their contract was purely to probably be the lesson of me just experiencing, whatever would come through that. Like the emotions through it, the lessons, the wound clearing, like that would be the intention that would come through. So that shifted everything for me. And I'm actually drawn to share this, and I don't think I've ever shared this in a public setting before, but I've actually experienced going through a pregnancy and choosing to have that abortion. And that was really massive for me. In the end, I knew the lesson in it was I was pretty emotionally stable with the process, but the biggest lesson that came through was just real deep embedded soul wounds that this pregnancy, the gift of that soul, was for me to experience and release. Like I remember tuning into the energy that, came in. I was doing a lot of I was healing that soul, right? That inner child that was associated to this pregnancy, I was healing that soul. I went through a process of, telling, no, I love you, right? This isn't because you're not wanted, I was healing. That soul almost chose to connect with me in that moment for me to heal it. Like I was healing that soul experience. And that was, there's actually emotion, I think, coming up for the first time about it. That was fucking powerful, right? Not just the journey of me, standing in my power, recognizing my choices, going through some other wounds of my own, but I actually was healing that soul's, you know, its own journey. I got to mother it, but not in a way that most people would perceive, which would be actually like carrying through the pregnancy. No, I mothered it through connecting with its soul self and healing it through its own experience that it would have had of, oh, I'm not wanted. That was pretty big for me personally.
Wow. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jackie, for bringing that in, because I just want to take a moment and just say thank you, like really honor that. That's a lot to share.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to share it. I was like, should I not? But in the end, I was like, no, I think this is the space to share it.
Yeah. When we were talking about pregnancy and such, and the fear of getting pregnant, I have my own experiences with abortion that I was not going to bring into this circle, because there's still shame, there's shame around that. So this is going to help to release that too. So I did not have the consciousness that I have now. At the time I was drinking, and I was not in a stable place. It wasn't I think I was on birth control pills, but I just wasn't taking them regularly because I was drinking so much. I just wasn't good about them, and I got pregnant. And it I didn't have the money, I didn't have the means, I didn't have a stable relationship. It would not have been a healthy place to bring in a child, and I would never do that to another being, just out of, for me, what felt like real selfishness, just so I didn't have to go through an abortion, or just that I wouldn't do that to another being, that there needs to be consciousness around conception. There needs to be intention around that. This is part of what's going on with our world. There isn't consciousness, and babies are brought in with just, I mean, I'll not get into that whole conversation, but that's just not the way I'm going to do it. I was put up for adoption at birth. My mother did not want me. My conception was not, I wasn't wanted. And so to be in that space, in that womb with somebody who was just, it was all about guilt and shame and not being wanted. She hid my pregnancy most of the way. It was not a good space to womb in, not the womb to
Yeah.
come into, but it's the womb I chose. It's the way I chose to come in. So I've made peace with that. And I understand that's my decision. I actually chose that experience for myself. So, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and I was not ready to have a child. So, yes, I did the right thing. I did the best thing for all involved. I had an abortion, and then, which was not really a pleasant experience. And my partner at the time could not support me through it, didn't even come pick me up. And that was rough. Within 6 months, I was pregnant again. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I had to go back to the same clinic and go, oh my God, I'm back. I'm here again. Like, the shame around that was just like, because abortion is not really birth control, it's not the way to be. It's not. So, contraception, that was horrible, horrible, horrible. Apparently I was very fertile at the time. Just like, but again, I was in the exact same place, and somehow and I let that one go as long as possible because I was so embarrassed to go back in there. And that was actually almost up to 3 months that because I was feeling it and everything. So that was really rough to go through. So of course, now I am on, I have UTI, not UTIs, IUDs, and there's nothing getting through there. So, but yeah, because that, especially after you go through it, then the fear is really bad around connecting. So, that is a really important, I'm reading in these books a lot about slut shaming women for having sex. And now then there's the abortion shaming if you have an abortion. And that is freaking huge in our society. And there's a part of me inside that's cringing that I'm just saying this out loud, and it's going to be on YouTube, and, just like, yeah, but no, it's fine. But it's in there, that shame that women carry. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you get pregnant, or you're possibly having to give your life up to have a child. So it's a lot of pressure that we have to carry around sexuality, and that's just one little piece. Wow, didn't know we were gonna go there today.
And to be honest, it's really so fucking empowering to just be able to hold the space in such a sisterly way like this. Like the fact that I feel for you, like to hear an Aquarian say that, like it just felt really empowering to be able to hold that space for you. And it just brought to my awareness, I was like, fuck, like how many women? Like I feel like every single woman that I now talk to, especially in our age group, they've gone through it, but they closet it, right? I feel like every single woman has had an experience, an abortion experience, or like a real pregnancy scare, and it's not brought up, right? It's so secretive, but we're all the fucking same. We've all gone through it. And I think that's what feels so empowering in the circle, this space that we've just created, is that steep sisterhood to be able to express that. Like even I felt, when that came up, that whole pregnancy experience that I had, like a part of me is like, oh, like, do I say it? Do I say it? The thinking was like
Yeah.
tiptoeing around it, but my heart was like, no, this is right. And yeah, just thank you so much for sharing that. I it's like a part of me is like, oh, like I wasn't expecting you to be able to relate. And then the other part of me is like, of course, no, we're all going through this together. Like it doesn't actually surprise me on that deeper inner knowing level. Like
Yeah.
you're so powerful, you're so brave, you are just an absolutely incredible woman. Like
So are you.
going through that is just like it really is strong. It really is. Like I just feel so much love to you right now, Sadie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And likewise, yeah, it's amazing to be able to share this and just like, get it out, get it out, get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the kinds of things we carry in our bodies. And yeah, that was such a rough time in my life. And then I just drank after that to try to deal with it, and to try to move through it, and to try to shut that down and not feel it, because you just go through, you do whatever you can to not really tap into the emotions around that, whatever they might be, because they're really complicated. It's not an
Mhm. Oh
easy
yeah.
thing, not an easy thing. Yeah. And that's like when you were saying, like, every woman, so many people have gone through this. I was thinking of sexual trauma as well, sexual abuse. It's the same kind of thing. When you start talking to people, it's just like there's that. And there's that too. We're not going to get into that in this circle, but that's a piece that's on top of all of this as well. Some sort of sexual abuse or sexual something in our past that also compounds all of this. So, and that's why we're having this circle, because it's so freaking layered and complex. And it's just like, oh my gosh, how do we get underneath all of this? And there's just like so much of it that is not ours. I'm gonna look at our time and see where we're at. Okay, we're good. I was gonna have a little writing exercise for us, but I think since we're recording this, I will save that for the next time.
Well, it depends what you're called to. Like I feel like we've put a lot into like setting this intent to reach others. We can end the recording here if you feel called and go and have a writing, or if you feel there's more topics you'd like to share. I live in your ballpark, but I'm pretty cruisy. I personally probably wouldn't mind having the space to sit in and process this, because I feel like, yeah, that's just kind of what I'm drawn to do. So if you're feeling called to doing the writing and kind of having that space open, that feels good to me.
Okay. Let's do that. I'm feeling, I've got to admit, a little bit whacked out from all that we just got into there.
That ego's like, what the fuck have we done?
Pretty much. I know my whole everything is just like, wow, how do you wrap that up with a cute little bow and tidy this one up and just like have some great little closing, like, oh, there we go. This isn't that circle. This isn't that circle. This circle is about getting in there, getting raw, getting real, getting deep. And because these are not tidy little bow topics that we're working on here. And so yeah, there's that desire to neaten this up somehow. And but yeah, and there's a part of my internal being that's just like, what the hell did you just do? What are you talking about? Which is so weird, because that's not, I feel like normally pretty fearless and like, I don't care and I just want to share and go deep, but and that's how much this shit lives in our bodies. It's not a mental process. We've embodied this stuff so much, the shame that we take in, and we pack it away. We pack these emotions away into our bodies. And so this just got activated for me in a way that I can't get my mind to make a tidy little bow of it, because it's a very embodied physical experience that I'm having right now about all that's been kind of opened up and that's coming out at this moment. So so that's why I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind about it, which is something you said earlier too, about like putting words to the emotions that come up in your body. You were trying to put words to it. And that's the masculine logical mind trying to explain the feminine, which is beyond words, and we don't explain emotions with words. Emotions are to be felt, not like analyzed or not, not put into words. So I wanted to bring that in. So right now, yes, my logical mind is wanting to kind of work with this in a different way, but I just need to allow the flow and the feel and the breathing. I do want to give people something though to take away, because if this has triggered anything for you, brought up your own shame and guilt, or any issues around maybe abortions that you've experienced, or any kind of maybe sexual trauma that is coming up for you right now. I Journaling is a really great way to work with that, and just get out a pen and paper and just start writing whatever is coming up for you. Get it out, express it, put it onto paper, and then you can burn it afterwards and just release it. Go out into nature, put your hands on the earth and offer the energy down into the earth and let her take it. She will take it and transmute it. Just release it somehow. Anything that's being brought to the surface for you right now, do not hold on to it. Get it out however you need to. Pound on some pillows, go and scream if you're in a place that's safe to do that. But again, allow this to move through you, and feel free to reach out if there's any way I can support you around this. You're welcome to comment in below, and I'll respond to every comment. So anything you might need help and support around, I want to make sure that we hold you around that. So these are big topics, these are big energies, these are really huge themes for women, for the collective, for our society, things that we're trying to move through. And yeah, it's messy. It truly is. I honor you wherever you are in your journey. I honor your path. I honor your being here and listening to us. If you've listened to us this far, then this is speaking to you, and you're meant to be here. And know that you are held and loved and cared for. And please continue to come back to the circle, come join us and have these conversations with us. We'll be doing this every month. And we have Grief Honoring Circle that is all about the unconscious grief of the wounded feminine, which is very much what this is about. There's a lot of grief around abortion. There's a lot of grief around sexual trauma. So we're going to be bringing that into the circle and working with that as well. So I'm here to support you. Jackie's here to support you. We are here to do this work together. So that's what this is all about. And yeah, I'm sorry I can't tidy it all up and make it all better, but these conversations are to do that. So yes, we're stirring shit up because it needs to be stirred up. And now go release it. Do what feels right to you to get it out. Get it out. Get it out. Get it out. Thank you so much for being here and for watching us. We're going to have a little processing time, so you do your own processing. And again, feel free to reach out if you want to share your process, because I would love to hear it. So thank you all. How do I do that? Okay, stop recording. Stop recording.